You know that slightly odd sensation when you hear a recording of your own voice?
Oh, yeah. Almost everyone hates it, right?
Pretty much. But here's a thought that might be even, well, stranger. The voice you're using right now.
Hmm.
It might not actually be your most authentic one.
Mm. Intriguing.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit. Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission, as always, is to cut through the noise and just give you the core insights you need.
And you listening, you value getting to the heart of complex stuff pretty quickly, right?
Exactly, and that's what we aim for in every exploration.
And what's really fascinating, I think, is how often we overlook our voice. I mean, it's fundamental to how we connect, but we don't really think about improving it.
We don't. We think it's just
Yeah.
there. But you're saying conscious effort can make a huge difference.
Absolutely. Remarkable results, even.
Okay, cool. And for this deep dive, the source you brought in is it's a fantastic YouTube video. It's from The Diary of a CEO, featuring Vinh Giang.
That's right. Vinh Giang.
And for anyone who doesn't know him, Vin's an award-winning speaker, a big name in communication coaching. He helps people unlock the power of, their voice and body language in basically every part of life.
And his own story is pretty compelling.
It really is. He talks about being this awkward, kind of bullied kid who just couldn't connect. And now,
Yeah.
well, now he's this expert.
And he truly believes anyone can make significant changes, like in just 3 to 6 months.
Which is amazing. It suggests communication isn't some fixed talent. It's a skill you can actually build.
Exactly. It's learnable. His journey really drives that home. It's quite hopeful, actually.
Totally. So our goal today, really tailored for you listening, is to pull out the most useful, actionable stuff from Vin's insights.
Like a shortcut to better vocal communication.
Precisely. Not just for work, but for, making those personal connections stronger too. And this is where it gets really interesting for me. Vin talks about this key moment with his first vocal teacher, Miss Stanley.
Yes, Miss Stanley. That was clearly a huge turning point in how he understood his own voice.
Right. It wasn't just about getting words out anymore.
It became something more nuanced.
Yeah. So in this, really unusual first lesson focusing just on one piano key, then a whole song she showed him, his voice wasn't just a tool, like a wrench,
Mm-hmm.
It was a musical instrument, like a piano or a guitar, something you play.
And that's such a critical distinction, isn't it? A tool does a job, an instrument. It evokes emotion.
Exactly.
So the idea is, by learning to play your voice, you can actually influence how other people feel. It's deeper than just being clear.
It's about that emotional connection,
Hmm.
which I know our listeners are always looking for those aha moments about
Right.
deeper connection. And Vin's own story really hammers this home. He talks about feeling basically invisible when he was younger.
Mm-hmm. That feeling of not being heard, it's a powerful motivator for change, isn't it?
Absolutely. And he says his ability now to, quote, negotiate an incredible reality comes directly from mastering communication. Makes you think, right. We put so much emphasis on being technically brilliant, the best coder, the best designer, whatever.
But technical skill isn't the whole picture.
No. Veen argues it's our communication skill that determines how the world actually sees us, how our value is perceived.
And think about how many talented people get overlooked just because they can't quite articulate their brilliance effectively. It's a real shame.
It really is. And Vin puts it squarely on it. He says it's your responsibility to learn to communicate your value, to shine your light brightly. It's a pretty strong call to action.
Okay, so the why is clear. It's crucial. How do we actually do it? Vin breaks it down, right, into these core elements, starting with vocal image.
Yeah, vocal image. What's interesting is how he compares it to our visual image. We think a lot about clothes, posture, how we look.
Mm-hmm. We manage that visual impression constantly. It creates assumptions.
Right. And Vin says our voice does the same thing. It shapes assumptions, and those assumptions can harden into beliefs about us.
But the difference is we often ignore the vocal part. We work on the visual, but the voice, it feels fixed, unchangeable.
That old belief again.
Yeah.
But Vin says, no, you can shape your vocal image. And the first step is understanding the parts, starting with melody.
Okay, melody. And he means the pitch variation, right? The different notes your voice can hit.
Exactly. And he uses this really cool piano experiment to show how powerful melody is, even without any words.
Oh, yes, I remember that. He played different piano pieces.
Yeah, the first one was kind of sad sounding, and people immediately said things like sadness, nostalgia.
Just from the melody. Key takeaway there. Melody carries emotion all by itself.
Then the second one was more upbeat, dynamic.
And that evoked inspiration, motivation, like chasing a goal or something.
Yeah, key takeaway. Upbeat melodies energize.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one, totally different vibe.
Suspenseful, kind of creepy, made you feel like something bad was about to happen, like a thriller movie soundtrack.
Right. Key takeaway. Melody builds tension. So just the notes themselves are packed with emotional information.
And he connects this directly to people we meet. You know how some people just walk in a room and talking to them either drains you or lifts you up?
Totally.
He suggests a lot of that comes down to the melody in their voice, the pitch variation, or maybe the lack of it.
That makes sense. It's that underlying musicality or lack of it that affects how we feel. Okay, but what if someone doesn't naturally have a huge vocal range? Can they still convey emotion?
He thinks so, yeah, to some extent. But his main point is, if you treat your voice like that instrument, if you actively explore its potential, you unlock way more expressive power.
And to help with that, he suggests the siren technique.
Right, the siren, gliding your voice from its lowest note to its highest and back down again.
Sounds a bit silly, maybe.
It can feel weird at first, but the goal isn't to talk like a siren, obviously. It's just to become aware of the notes you can hit, to get that control.
Gotcha. And having more melody isn't just about emotion, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a practical benefit, too.
Yeah, he mentions a study. When lots of people are talking at once, the person with more melody in their voice, they're heard more clearly.
Interesting.
And their message is remembered better, too. It just cuts through the noise more effectively.
Okay, but couldn't you go too far? Sound like fake or overly dramatic?
That's a common worry, but Vin actually thinks the bigger risk is not using enough variety. He says melody helps people connect emotionally, to feel what you're saying, not just hear words.
Ah, okay. So aim for more variety, not less. That's the key takeaway. It makes people feel connected.
Exactly. It adds that resonance.
All right, melody covered. What's next? Rate of speech.
Right. He puts it on a scale, like 1 to 10. 1 is painfully slow, 10 is super fast.
And most of us just have our default speed, somewhere in the middle, our comfort zone.
Yeah, and often when we get nervous, that speed tends to creep up. But Vin says we can use rate strategically.
How so?
Well, think about slowing down deliberately. It acts like an auditory highlighter.
Ooh, I like that. An auditory highlighter. For key points.
Precisely. It signals, hey, this part is important. Listen up.
And speeding up.
Speeding up can inject energy, charisma, shows passion, excitement about your topic.
Okay. But the real magic is in varying the rate.
Yes, that variation is what makes the message clearer and more memorable. He gives that example of listing 5 things monotonously versus really emphasizing the core 5 by slowing down just for those words.
Yeah. It makes the important stuff stand out. Key takeaway. Vary your speed to highlight and engage.
Absolutely. And about that nervousness making us talk fast, he gives a rough guideline, aiming for maybe 150 to 180 words per minute.
And over 210 is probably too fast for most people to follow comfortably.
Generally, yeah. The point is, consciously adjusting your rate keeps listeners tuned in. A flat melody and a flat rate. That's when minds start to wander.
Makes sense. Keep it dynamic.
Yeah.
Okay, foundation number 3. Volume.
Volume. He calls it the lifeblood of the voice. It's what carries the melody and the rate.
Another 1 to 10 scale. And most people hang out around a 3 or 4.
Pretty much. And just like rate, you can use volume to highlight things. 2 main ways.
Okay.
You can get louder for emphasis, or you can get really quiet. Draw people in.
Ah, the strategic quietness. Interesting. Key takeaway. Use volume changes up or down for emphasis.
But the crucial thing, again, is variation. If you're always loud, getting louder doesn't mean anything if you're always quiet.
You might seem unsure, lack confidence.
Exactly. He links low volume often to shyness, but too much volume, especially without the other stuff like melody, can come across as arrogant.
Right. And he brings up the physical aspect, too, voice as vibrations that people actually feel. Volume plays a big part in that physical impact.
Definitely. Okay, next up, tonality.
Tonality, which is basically the emotion in your voice.
Yeah, and the really cool insight here is the link to your face. He says your face is like the remote control for the emotion in your voice.
That exercise he does is amazing, saying the same phrase but making different faces. Disgust, surprise, anger.
And the voice changes completely. It really shows how connected our facial muscles are to our vocal tone.
Wild.
And he mentions mirror neurons, too. Listeners actually start to feel the emotion you're conveying because their brains mirror it.
So if you sound happy, they feel happier.
Yeah.
Key takeaway. Your face drives the emotion in your voice, and listeners feel it.
He also points out, interestingly, that men sometimes get conditioned to suppress emotions, which can lead to a flatter tone.
Hmm.
And it's not just when you're speaking. Reacting with your face nodding, eyebrows raising shows you're listening, you're engaged, even if you don't say a word.
Like tilting your head to show curiosity. Little things.
Exactly. But he warns you can send the wrong signal, too, like that fast nod that might mean hurry up.
Huh. Okay, be mindful of the face. Got it. And the last foundation, pause.
Pause. Such a powerful tool. He says pause intensifies whatever emotion came right before it. A pause after anger feels different from a pause after sadness.
Like in music, right. That silence after a huge loud part.
Exactly. That silence makes the loud part feel even bigger. Key takeaway. Strategic pauses boost emotional impact and give listeners processing time.
And in speaking, it gives the listener a beat to actually absorb what you said. Stops it feeling like a data dump.
He contrasts rushing through important stuff with using pauses for impact, like that gladiator quote. My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius.
Yes, the pauses make it epic.
They really do. Pausing basically tells the listener, hey, what I just said, that was important. Think about it.
Okay, so those are the five. Melody, rate, volume, tonality, and pause.
What?
Mastering these is the path to better vocal connection.
According to Vinh, yes, that's the toolkit.
All right, theory's great, but how do we actually get better? Vin has a process, right? Record and review.
He does. A three-step process to build self-awareness, which is often the biggest hurdle. You need to know how you actually sound and look to others.
Okay, step one, record. Just film yourself talking for about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Standing up, speaking impromptu.
Yeah, don't rehearse a speech. Pick a random topic, maybe from a conversation starter list online. The goal is to capture your natural habits.
Your core behaviors, not a performance. Got it. Step two, review. And this has parts. First, wait a day.
Yeah, give yourself some distance so you're less critical. Then, listen with your eyes closed. Just focus on the sound.
Focusing purely on those five foundations. Rate, volume, melody, tonality, pause. Making notes on what you hear.
Right. Isolating the audio makes you notice things you'd miss if you were watching too.
Then the second part of review is visual. Watch the video, but mute the sound.
Now you're looking at posture, hand gestures, or maybe no gestures, nervous tics, all that nonverbal stuff.
How does your physical presence come across?
Okay.
And the third part,
Get a transcript. And crucially, make sure it includes all the ums, us, likes, you knows, the filler words.
the auditory clutter, as he calls it.
Why? To see where you ramble, repeat yourself, use those fillers. He even suggests highlighting them to really bring them into your awareness.
And the fix for filler words.
Replace them with a pause. Just the silent beat. Much more impactful.
Okay, that whole record review process sounds thorough, but maybe a bit much.
Yeah.
Like, what if you find 10 things wrong?
That's a real possibility. His advice is don't try to fix everything at once. Make a plan. Maybe a 12-week plan.
Focus on one thing per week. Like week 1 is just rate of speech.
Exactly. You consciously work on just your rate all week. Then at the end of the week, you record and review again, focusing only on rate. Did you improve?
He calls it Kaizen, right? Continuous small improvements.
Yeah, the power of consistency. He mentioned CEOs getting frustrated initially, wanting to fix everything, but this one thing at a time approach works better long term.
Makes it less overwhelming, allows you to really embed the change.
Right. Sustainable improvement, stronger connections down the line.
What about that tendency some people have to overtalk or over-explain things? How do you spot that in yourself?
Recording conversations can help there too, like on Zoom. Watch yourself, but also watch the other person's body language. Are they engaged, or are their eyes glazing over?
Ah, good point. Check their reactions. And for big moments, like presentations, he recommends warming up.
Definitely. Vocal warm-ups, things like humming with closed lips, pushing cheeks together while singing, the siren, that S technique, reading low to high pitch, just gets the voice ready.
Okay, shifting to the physical side now. He talks about the power sphere. What's that?
It's a concept from Mark Bowden. Basically, the space between your belly button and your eyes.
And gesturing within that space makes you seem more present, confident.
Yeah, enhances physical and executive presence. Gesturing too low, the T-Rexing he jokes about, can look less assured.
Gotcha. And he outlines 5 basic hand gestures from Virginia Satir.
Foundational gestures. First is the placator, palms up and out.
Welcoming, non-threatening, good for connection.
Then the leveler, hands facing down.
Authority, control, grounding.
Third, the blamer, pointing.
Can be aggressive, but soften it with the whole finger, not just the index.
Right. Fourth, the computer or thinker, one arm across, hand to chin.
Shows you're processing, thinking.
And fifth, the distractor, a pattern break, like a clap and a shooing motion.
To snap attention back if it's drifting. He says practicing these levels up your physical presence, especially for that executive vibe.
It's about using your body deliberately to back up your words.
And all this applies online too. Video calls.
Even more so, he argues. Because being on camera feels unnatural, we tend to shrink vocally and physically.
So practical tips. Show your full torso. Get good lighting, 3-point if possible, decent camera, 1080p min, external mic.
Good Wi-Fi is crucial. And consciously bring a bigger version of yourself online. Project that presence.
Because so much is about identity, which leads to accents.
Yeah.
This is interesting. He had people react negatively when he improved his articulation.
Yeah, accused him of trying to be British. Shows how tied communication is to identity and how people perceive changes.
And he mentions that study about accent discrimination in hiring.
But he draws a line between accent, which isn't necessarily bad, and articulation or pronunciation.
Clarity is key for being understood and perceived as intelligent.
Exactly. He worked with a speech pathologist on English mouth movements for clarity. It's about adding skills, not losing who you are, unless your current style is actually hindering you.
Okay. What about handling disagreements? He has a technique for that too.
The yes and from improv theater instead of yes but, which kind of negates what was just said.
Yes, and builds on it, keeps things positive.
Right. He also mentions neuroscience showing our brains kind of shut down when we disagree strongly.
So his principle is never disagree, which sounds weird.
It doesn't mean you have to agree. It means acknowledge their point first, validate it somehow, then add your perspective, avoids that immediate friction.
Acknowledge, then add, build bridges, don't burn them, foster collaboration. Okay. What about just starting conversations? Small talk. Seems harder now.
It takes courage, he admits. He suggests a game called Halo Buffalo, Hi Buffalo, as a way to create 3 chances for connection when initiating.
Cute. And he defends small talk. Says it's actually important.
Very important. Cite studies showing loads of relationships and work chat is small talk.
So how do you do it well without getting stuck?
The 3-2-1 framework. Offer 3 steps, 2 types, or 1 key thing. Keeps it brief. And have some nugget questions ready that go beyond weather or work.
Like, what do you do in your free time? Something a bit deeper.
Exactly. Leads to better conversations, real connection.
Okay, difficult conversations, like being interrupted all the time.
He suggests that often comes down to weak physical or vocal presence.
So the fix is boost the volume, use those power sphere gestures, command the space more.
Pretty much. Stand up in meetings when making your point. Increases presence, makes interruptions less likely, even when you pause.
And if someone's a serial interrupter.
Prime the conversation. Say up front, I'd like to share this whole idea first, then I'll take questions. Set the expectation.
Smart. What about building rapport quickly?
Mirroring. Subtly matching someone's body language, their vocal style, rate, volume, etc. Not copying exactly, but meeting them where they are.
Then you can gently lead the conversation's energy.
That's the idea. And for deeper connection beyond just work talk.
The 4D acronym.
Right. Family, occupation, recreation, dreams, broader topics that build resonance. Especially asking about dreams, it can be really powerful.
Throughout all this, he keeps coming back to listening to yourself. Right? Don't get desensitized.
Yeah, that record and review isn't a one-off. It's ongoing. Keep checking in on how you sound.
And he busts the introvert-extrovert myth, too.
Says it's about energy management, not communication skill. An introvert might need more downtime after socializing, but they can still play the instrument beautifully when they choose to.
It's not a skill limitation, just an energy one. Makes sense. What about severe social anxiety?
He recommends slow desensitization, exposure therapy, shares his own story of using magic as a crutch because he felt he lacked value, leading to contextual confidence.
Confidence only in that specific situation.
Right. But mastering communication gives you confidence that travels with you. It's not tied to one context.
That's powerful. And finally, how do you introduce these changes with people who already know you? Your partner, your colleagues?
2 things. First, practice with neutral ears. Strangers, basically. People with no expectations of how you should sound. Helps new habits feel normal.
Like trying out a different volume level with the cashier at the store.
Exactly. Set little daily goals. Second, prime the conversation with people close to you. Tell them what you're working on, ask for their support, maybe even do it together.
Avoids them thinking, why are they talking weird all of a sudden?
Precisely. Manages expectations, gets them on board.
Okay, wow. That's a ton of incredibly practical advice. As we wrap up this deep dive, let's get to that final provocative thought. The question left by the previous guest. What is one thing you know to be true, even though you can't prove it?
And Vince's answer,
Yeah,
it's his belief that you can negotiate whatever reality you desire.
that's a big claim.
He knows. He even jokes about maybe being proven wrong someday. But his point is that belief has served him. It's a powerful, useful way to approach life.
A useful belief, even if unprovable. He'd rather live by it, because it helps him actively shape his world.
Exactly. It's a proactive mindset.
That really resonates, especially thinking about you, listening, and your goals for a better future, personally and professionally. It makes you question your own beliefs about what's possible, particularly with communication.
What beliefs might be holding you back? And what more empowering beliefs could you choose to adopt? Beliefs about connection, about your own voice.
So the call to action is simple. Try just one small thing from this deep dive. Maybe it is just recording yourself for 5 minutes or focusing on your rate of speech this week.
Remember, Kaizen, small, consistent steps lead to big changes in how you communicate and connect.
It's really about unlocking the potential you already have.
Right.
Right. Playing that instrument within you more skillfully.
Leading to more meaning, more impact, better connections.
And maybe becoming that luminary Vin talks about, someone whose voice and presence spread positivity and foster genuine connection.
A great goal to aim for.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for taking this deep dive with us today. Keep exploring the power of your own communication.